Tēnā rā tātou katoa. True story, methamphetamine brought us together. So way back in the beginning, Richard and I worked on Te Ara Oranga. So I was in 3 of those huis that Pam was talking about. I was the white person at the front going, what? It's like my worst nightmare. Pam said, come to a hui, she said, it'll be great, she said. I'm like, what? Anyway, so luckily I was flanked by 3 of the best looking, most handsome and strongest Māori men you would ever see. So one was Murray Clark, number 2 is Trev, you know who you are, and the 3rd one I married and he just left the room. So regardless of what anyone says about this journey, it's brought me nothing but wellness and education and inspiration. So what to tell you about screening, brief intervention and referral to treatment, SBIRT. Just think of me as one of the Muppets. I'm like the SBIRT Muppet. So what kind of person would agree to go into the middle of that big grinding clinical machine called Whangarei Hospital, like right into the middle? Go into the middle. You know, if you're filming this, I beg of you, don't go in. Don't go in without a plan. We didn't. We did trialing. So what I mean by screening is asking a series of questions. So over a 24-hour period, long before the rest of it started, we went into the police station and the emergency department. We asked questions of every single person that came in that night. And we covered it to produce evidence. We also lobbied, straw polled, infiltrated, influenced, bribed, whatever you want to call it. We knew we had buy-in from the nurses. Do not go into an emergency department and tell them what is a good idea for them. And this was before COVID, you know, and that was dangerous. So the idea was simple. Screening and brief intervention is one of the most evidence-based, proven, easy to set up and cheapest interventions you can do. However, you have to do it in the middle of one of the most clinical, busy, underfunded, highly stressed, highly technical and cynical locations ever, in the middle of a trauma centre, right? What kind of fool would do that? They'd have to be a Muppet, right? And everyone knows this analogy, but I felt like I'd walked into the middle of an Olympic water polo team, and then I came synchronized swimming in the side like this with nose plugs, and they were like, what is that? You know, what the F was that? Did you see that? What does it want? You know, so I had to get in there, do a job no one had done before, and I had plenty of people telling me how to do it. So I had to get in there, produce data out of my ass immediately, right, quick, you've got to produce data. It really depends on the data. Okay, that sounds hard. I had to, you know, infiltrate, influence, inform, and inspire, and do my job and study, and sing the song and get the T-shirt, and keep my own recovery, which I got incidentally after my first degree. And I kissed the police today. The only time I've ever done that before is to get out of trouble. Bottom line, and my clean record speaks for itself, I have to tell you. Anyway, so we went in, and it wasn't just me. There was a project lead, a psychologist, you know, we had backup, we had Jewel, you know, I always had Pam. I'm like, Pam, what have you got me into? And we just started. As soon as the emergency department realised we weren't going to make their job harder, I wasn't going to make them fill in any paperwork, and I had quite a wicked sense of humour, they were like, okay, you can stay, but could you do our violence forms? You know, no, that's not what I do, but yes. And so I had to get in there and try and, I mean, it's horrible. You got to know, we're sending all our most unwell people to a busy trauma team. And I keep saying this until people listen. It's like sending a car accident victim to a counselling service. Sure, they're nice and they'll call an ambulance, but hell, it's not the right place to send people in distress, you know? And it's not fair on the team. They're trauma trained. They've been noticing for years. Why do these people keep coming through and they're babbling and have bad teeth? I don't know. You know, why are they always chained to someone from corrections? Why are they psychotic? We can't triage our way out of this. You know why? Because we don't effing have a triage for it. You know, as far as I'm aware, there's no cure for addiction. Unless something's changed since I studied, you know, there isn't. But what we do have is each other. This is personal. This is my town, you know. This is whānau. This was me, you know. So when people come in, the least you can do is have someone with some, you know, mana, or have someone with, I don't know, some education, something relevant to meet them and have a kōrero. I know it's busy, but we keep sending people to a service that's not there to meet them. You know, so this is, and this is serious. It doesn't present as methamphetamine, it presents as lots of other things, you know. And so, snuck in, you know, the good side, lots of good news stories, so many. The data, yep, I just want to acknowledge, you know, the people whose data we use and their stories. They're more than just numbers, you know, and methamphetamine doesn't come on its own. So 8% of the people over those 15,000 screens, I think I did probably 12,000 on my own, all but 8% used like tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, and synthetics. Like, this doesn't exist on its own. And so many ways this is influential. Once I got in there, because I was giving time to ask people, they would open up and tell me, it's got more to do with what's presenting to health than anyone would ever realise. And they don't really want to know, to be quite honest, because what are we going to do, you know? So, you know, we start to connect. We know connection's the opposite of addiction. We give options, you know. We just be kind, be a person, direct the traffic, you know. Sometimes I was running along beside people chained to other people doing a brief intervention going, shut your ears. You know, we just do what we can in those spaces that are hard. That's what matters. Not where it's easy and everyone agrees. By the time they get to service out there, they want help. In the emergency department, you know, it's people don't know they have a problem. People have never discussed it. You don't go, I've got a problem, I think I'm going to go and get a solution today. No, you often crash your car, you do something else. The beauty of it is, I got in there, I walked my talk, I was humble, I listened, I checked my landscape, I started to align, they started to see change. Because they were no longer scared to ask people about addiction, because they knew there was a solution, the doctors and nurses started to do it more. And because they knew, we've got someone that can talk to you, we know what to do. Don't send busy clinicians an education package. They just need someone there that can answer questions. What was that place again? What's it called? Why is there 12 steps? Is it smart recovery? Who are the speed freaks? Are they runners? Just be in the middle and be helpful. You know, it's like, it's not that hard. It was so easy. And I just want to say that position is vacant. Not trying to poach or anything. It's a vital, pivotal spot. But I had to do it, justify it, study it, talk about it, you know, constantly showcase it. I can do that. I'm telling you, drug addiction has transferable skills, you know. Hands down, untapped workforce to the stars. It's so good, you know, and we're snappy dresses too. I can always pick us out. However, so we also in the weekends trained fifth-year medical students. This is brilliant in its simplicity. We got the little doctors. I like to think of them as little, medium, and big. So the little ones, we had them screening. They were like, oh my God, you just ask people and they tell you. Yeah, you don't really need a urine drug screen. It's in fact, some of them, and particularly methamphetamine, will just tell you freaking everything, you know, until you wish they'd stop telling you everything. Stop telling me everything, because I don't want to put this in my notes. So the new generation of doctors are growing up knowing it's not social issues, there's people, there's stories, and, you know, it's really common and it's got a lot to do with everything. So in my time in the 5.5 years in there, those doctors have now become GPs. They're not scared when someone says they use meth. They know what to do. They know there's a 12-step program. They know there's smart recovery. You know, we were growing it. And just before I left, we got permission to bring peers in. So we had peers doing screening and brief intervention, and a whānau member, she couldn't do it because she was already raising her own grandchildren due to methamphetamine in her whānau. But, you know, that's what it is, bringing non-clinical people, snaking them in, sneak them in. They won't notice, you know. And that's what it's about. And sometimes that's what you got to do. And that's the rock and the hard place, because what happens to your whānau, they're going to go through that hospital, you know. And yeah, so if you're wanting to set this up, don't leave out that part, because that part connects the other parts. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, there's Shane. You know, there's all these revolving bits. There's the mental health team, there's the police, there's the whānau, there's the Mid-North team, you know, and there's Michelle and ED going, F word. What are we going to do here? You know, hospitals like, we don't want methamphetamine. Mental health's like, it's not mental health. The police are like, we're not allowed to stay. There's only 3 of us for the night. Okay. Yeah, so there's tough stuff. And it's important for me to voice that. That's also why screening's good, because acute harm, you know, I'm linked up with High Alert, the Drug Foundation. It's just your pivotal spot for information, and you're first to see what comes in and what's happening, and stay informed. So yeah, I don't know, obviously I could talk the leg off a table about this, but I won't. I just want to say, yeah, I'm very humbled and grateful for what's been shared. I agree about the data. So our data, I couldn't even collect data of people that went to 12-step programs or anything like that. I can't even tell you the social weaving that's done in there, trying to get people back to where they want to be. And yeah, I'm grateful, because without Te Ara Oranga, we wouldn't have got this off the ground. And this is something evidence-based that people are talking about all the time. And I can't believe our hospitals don't want to do it. You know, it's cheapest. You know, with Mandy Cross, the project lead, can give you the numbers. It's ridiculous how much money is saved just by being there at the front. You know, even if you're cynical, you should want to do this just to save money. You know, I want to do this to save people, and just because I can, you know. So thank you. I'm very, very grateful and humble to be part of this kaupapa, and, you know, happy for the people I've been on the journey with for some time now. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa.